Yeah, just wait a while. 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 Yeah, just wait a while.
Yeah.
Did you want to introduce yours? I mean, I just wait a while. Did you want to introduce yours?
Aaron, I expect a very fancy intro. Aaron, I expect a very fancy intro. Aaron, I expect a very fancy. Aaron, I expect a very fancy. Aaron, I expect a very fancy.
What's going on? What's going on?
First of all, it's gonna echo.
Oh, Facecam Marvel. Turn Facecam Marvel
No,
off.
I figured it out.
Like an awesome tech person.
Okay, y'all should be fine now. You had Twitch. You had Twitch. The sound of Twitch open.
Oh, the sound of Twitch. Okay, okay. Time out. Okay, that was my bad. Whatever. We'll blame Anthony though because he is the baby of the group. So let's try this again. Can everyone hear us? Okay, out there, or Liz, can you hear? Anthony and Matt talk at the same time, so that, yeah.
Hello.
Hey guys. Can you hear us?
I felt like, you know when people like sing the national anthem in a stadium or you talk in a stadium, the reverberation, like you can't, like unless you're blocked out, you can't even talk. That's where I was at just a few seconds ago.
I was
we talk at the same time, or we talk.
Everything was echoing. So Anthony, you'd say something, and then you'd say it again and again, and Matt would say it, and then it was just like there was like 4 echoes of Anthony's, and then if you keep talking, it just gets worse. Like
I was tempted to keep talking just to finally drop you fully mad.
Totally go with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you sure you weren't taking anything before this attempt to stream, Aaron?
This was the wrong day to start smoking peyote, you know? Like, I think it's a fitting way to start this whole show, though. Thank God Liz was here. Holy cow, that would have been me for like 2 hours, and I'd been pouring sweat. And
but did she fix it?
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
okay.
I can understand what's going on now. Like that's a little bit better. And I was really scared because I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna the video recording is gonna be me talking and none of you guys, you know, or something. I don't know. I don't know what it would have been. But anyways, so again, hi, I'm Aaron Lovejoy.
Hello, Aaron Lovejoy.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt DiPietro. Thanks for joining us. If you've tuned in already.
Yep. And I'm Anthony Wang.
Anthony Wang. So Matt, everyone knows because he's been around since the dawn of time or something. Like if you're a fan of Privateer Press, you've probably seen his work. Like even to this day, how long have you not been working for Privateer Press now? Like what is it,
almost been 10 years. So
a long time, man.
It's been a while, yeah.
That long? Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, actually, not quite 10 years. Oh, man, I can't even remember.
It's close though, man.
It's got to be close though. Yeah. I worked for them for 10 years, so I've been a professional miniature painter for almost a full 20 years. I think it's
almost as old as Anthony is.
Yeah, you know, maybe older. I just popped out not so long ago for my mom, so
I got the job at Privateer Press when Anthony was still in the womb, and then you know.
In the womb of my dad's nutsack, not quite sure yet. So, but, you know, we'll have to do some carbon dating.
Circle of life, you know. So, anyways, what the heck are we doing here, Anthony? You were kind of the one who. Or did you? Is it your idea? Or
no, it's Matt's idea actually.
Was
it Matt's idea? It was your idea, right, Matt?
Well, me and you decided we were going to paint some stuff, and then Matt was like, I want to be in on this.
Yeah, I thought that we could do like kind of a slow grow, paint up our models and share with everybody our different takes, like our different goals as, you know, painters. Because I mean, I painted so many studio models that, you know, after I left there, I've only been painting like fine art stuff and things for collectors, and then teaching since then. I haven't actually played a miniature game in a long time, and that was like my roots, you know. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity to kind of come back and, you know, paint some gaming models for the first time in a long time, and also play some games, you know, because I've been missing it, and also try painting some stuff in a different way that I hadn't done before. So.
And I think the key with this project is we picked a game that is, one, pretty cool. You know, I mean, I've played Marvel and it's super fun. But two, it's not 300 figures.
Yeah.
100%.
Pretty sure none of us would get it done.
I pick my games on as few miniatures as I can paint as possible.
So do like the Steven Garcia. Let's go for infinity. Cool figures, and we're doing it. But in this case, we're doing Marvel Crisis Protocol. They have really cool figures, and they're relatively. I mean, if you want to go fast, they're kind of cool figures because you see a lot of them being painted for painting contests and stuff like that. But then you also, they're pretty easy to paint up. Like, you can paint one in a session if you really wanted to. You know, obviously you're not gonna have like high end paint job, but maybe within this show a little bit, we can kind of share with people some ways of getting the most out of your miniature. You know, like Matt, you got all kinds of tricks for just going fast, you know? And some of it is you just got to be okay with it's not like the best I can do. It's oh my gosh, there's my take trash out. Sorry, Amazon loves giving me notifications. But you know, just giving people tips and tricks and tips maybe of doing something better or doing something more gaming, like getting the best out of your gaming figure, you know?
Yeah.
And then we've got Anthony here who's just going friggin' hog wild and doing like the top tier whatever, and that's awesome too. And so I think we all have different styles. I don't know what my style is, but you guys have very distinct styles, and I think that's really cool. Like, I love Anthony's stuff, I love Matt's stuff, so I'm kind of excited just to watch you guys like climb into your brains or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like to paint something really cool looking in a short amount of time, you have to really know like what you're trying to pull out of the figure. You know, there's a lot of planning involved in that.
Right.
You know, so I think even, you know, some of the mass pieces that he paints in one session, I think in one session I might paint like his arm, you know what I mean? But for that to paint a whole session and still have the figure look really cool in one session, you have to really like plan for and like pull out what you want to try to show and say about this miniature, you know. So I think it's a different challenge in and of itself, for sure.
So like, for instance, Matt, you're the shadow cat that's right below your head here in the video. How long did that take?
That was one session of painting. It was about
screw you and screw it. No.
It's about 3 hours, I would say, because it was actually the first model. It was kind of like my test piece for this style of painting that I've been trying to do. I like to try like lots of different styles. Even in my really high-end work, you know, the stuff that from Crystal Brush or, you know, that for high-end collectors and stuff, I don't paint in the same process in the same way every time. So, you know, this was an opportunity to try a comic book style that's really characterized by those bright colors and the really dark, well-defined blacks, and then, you know, kind of a little bit of sketchy line work and stuff like that in there. And I think that really lends itself to a fast way to paint. And so I had a concept about the process I would go through because, you know, I'd try a lot of different things, and I just went for it. And I think it turned out really nice for that time period. You know, I think that's what I want to do on these figures. You know, like I want to have a different, I have different goals when it comes to my gaming stuff versus, you know, that high-end paint job. If I was paying like just super high-end the entire time, I think it would kind of drag on me. And like a lot of my pieces are very personal when I'm doing that. And I think it's a little different, you know, doing something like this, which is just, you know, kind of more pop cultural, like stuff. Like, it's a subject that I really like. I love Marvel, I love X-Men, it's cool. But it's not really like, you know, my own ideas and stuff like that. So it's more like being true to that media and everything. So these were the goals that I was going for, and I think that time period, that's more what the amount of time people have to paint. A lot the typical person, they want to be able to sit down 1, 2, maybe 3 sessions, get something that they're happy with, and then they can go and play games with it, because they have their own busy lives and they want to have time to game too. So, if people want to learn how to paint, in the process that I'm doing, that's going to be part of these streams as well. So, keep on coming back.
Great. Now, in contrast to that, Anthony, I've got cable right below you.
Yeah.
How long did that take? This is just the sketch, mind you, like the initial black and white, or what would you call this?
Yeah, it's like it's not quite just like a sketch, not quite just a value sketch, like because yeah, what'd you say?
Like a sketch plus type, or
just plus, yeah. Because I think with like the process of like doing comic book art, you start with a pencil. The pencil's the sketch, right? And then the inker comes in, they picks out the lines and the ideas of how you want to represent that figure. You ink it and then you color it afterwards, right? So this essentially is the inking part where I'm already deciding at this black and white portion of where I want the lights, where I want the shadows, what kind of drama I want to show in that. And that actually takes quite a lot of time to figure out, to get it right, to get it feeling what I want, right? So that sketch probably took like 2 hours on its own, like.
So almost the same time as Matt's full paint job.
and you said value sketch. I know we all know what that means, but like, do you want to explain to people like what that is? They might not know what that is.
Yeah, the value sketch. So value is like the range from like white to black and everything in between. So then oftentimes you might want to do like a value sketch to say like, I have an idea of how I want to paint the lights and the shadows, and you just want to sketch it out real quick, right? And that can help guide how you might apply the color. And it is a sketch, right? So then when you add the color, you can adjust things, right? But in this inking portion of the figure of Cable, it's a bit of a sketch, but then I'm also then deciding like finally what I want to do. I may still adjust it a bit, as I paint. But I think that like, what these Marvel figures represent to me is like really my childhood. I may not look like it, but I was born in the 80s and a child in the 90s.
Yeah, he's not actually 20 years old.
Some time travel here and there,
We're just making fun of him because he looks so much better than
us. It's like Cable, no, but I really want to try to represent like the art form and the perception of comic book art, like from the 90s, like Jim Lee, that kind of era. It was really cool to me. And it's really hard to actually to take that 2D art style and then apply it to like a 3D art style. And it doesn't translate completely either, but there are some, there's some qualities of how reflections happen and how light is applied, and adding like even a more modern take on how do you apply color, to that like more old school classic inking, penciling kind of vibe. That's something that I want to try to do. And unlike Matt and Aaron, I'm not like a professional painter. I have a day job. I do something else, so when I have time to paint, I want to try to explore different areas that I'm really passionate about, and for me it's something fresh and new because I get to take a break and get a paint, whereas professional painters, they want to take a break from what they're doing to paint it in a different style. So, and that's why I want to take more time. I'm gonna try to shoot for maybe 5 to 10 hours per figure, right? And try to achieve that kind of 90s comic art that I really love.
Yeah, I think Anthony, you have we'll call it the luxury. I mean, I know you have a job and you're busy and you have a family and you got, a kid who wants to go to the park and all that stuff. So you don't have a million hours to spend at this, But I think it's kind of cool to see what you come up with spending a little bit more time. So that would be like the difference. And then me and Matt are like can we get this done in an hour, you know, or whatever. And I think, and then Matt and my style is different too. So I probably have the most different style out of both of you. It's just normal. But
just gotta be special, Aaron.
It's boring. I don't know. But the thing is, I think it will give people a good option of just different things and maybe how we attack things or what we're thinking about. I had one question in mind. So your value sketch or whatever it is here, you got white and black, but are you also painting gray shades too, or is it just white and black?
Yeah, it's mostly white and black with a bit like the transitions to gray are very short, because you know, in comic book art, when you're inking, you tend to use like brush strokes or like lines to do your gradations.
Okay.
At least in this 90s style,
so
you know,
not
and
really worried about that mid-range.
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, I do a lot of value sketches too, and you know, I can kind of talk about my take. Like, if you want gray, you can either do a transparency when you're doing your black, that will give you gray. Like Anthony was saying, you can kind of do some sort of texture with it, like cross hatching or hatching. You know, there's different ways to get that gray. And also, your midtones should probably be a color, you know. So when you add that color in, that's when you get your midtones in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No. That's a great point, Matt. And I think that, like, because if you do a value sketch, you can do a lot of more gray tones. That'll take the overall saturation down after your final paint job.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to go for, that's great. But with, you know, comics, especially like more modern comics, there's a lot of saturation in your color. So if you put a lot of grays in your midtones, it's going to reduce your saturation. So for me, I want to get that really hard like contrast from the 90s comics, but I want the saturation of the modern comics. So I'm it's kind of a bit of a blend of two styles.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the similarities between you know, the approaches and the differences too, because the way I've approached things is like a little bit reversed from what Anthony's doing, because I definitely I'm putting the colors in first, and then like one of the last things I do is I do the black inking on top and like make really strongly defined shadows on most colors. Not every color should have that super dark black in it, yellow being the one in particular if you look at Shadowcat there. And another thing is, like, similar to what Anthony was saying, is if you have gray underneath when you're applying your colors, it will lower the saturation. So that's one of the ways that's one of the things I've done to actually help me speed my process, is that I started with a gray primer and then I sprayed white on top of that. So that gray is actually I can kind of glaze a single color on top, and I'm getting two tones, one saturated, one less saturated, to kind of give me a little bit of a boost or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to see. It's cool to see how like different processes yield different results, and I think it's really important to say there's no like one right way to paint, right? Like you can paint in many different ways, and it's like totally cool, right? It's just what your idea is. So, Aaron, you've been asking a lot of questions. So what is your style, man? It's different and special, but what is it? What are you going for? I love your work.
Your model, Anthony. Just one last question.
Yeah.
Is it just white, or did you prime it zenithal?
It's a bit of a hybrid. So I sprayed black with an airbrush from underneath, and then I sprayed white on top.
Okay, so
you know, so that way I minimize the grays, right? Because there's less interaction between the white and the black. That way I can maintain still that contrast. It increases the contrast more than a typical zenithal, you know, white primer on top of black primer.
Like for me, I didn't want any black to start with on my, which is different than how I ever do my other work. So it's just gray and white. In fact, I have a model I could show if people are interested in the primer that I did.
Yeah, we could check that out.
So I got Gambit here.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I love that.
So we can see it's just gray. In fact, if you turn it up, it's going to be just gray underneath, and then white from above. Because I wanted the only black on the figure to be the inking that I'm putting in by hand, which is a different approach. So I thought that would be kind of fun, and really just kind of dig into that comic book inking look.
So even on a model like Shadowcat, where you have some very, I mean, obviously there's the yellows, and yeah, I would definitely be more white on the spraying there. But like for the arm, the Sentinel's arm and her bodysuit is black. You know, are you going back and just repainting that area much darker, or did you prime it differently to start with?
No, on the black areas and the other areas of the figure, we're doing some glazes of color, and then we're doing some sort of comic book sketching with color, a darker color. That first glaze you put on kind of gets two tones because one's going to have gray underneath it and one's going to have white underneath it. And one of the first things I do is just do a quick pass with an even brighter white to kind of give me maybe even a little bit more color variation with the first pass of color. And then, yeah, at some stage, you'll just have colors everywhere and have the beginnings of all the volumes, so all of the sort of blended volumes and stuff like that. And then you just go through and you do all your black comic book style sketching in there. And when I'm doing that, I'm trying to create like kind of a dramatic lighting effect, you know. So the cool thing is, like, when you're doing, if you're doing a black comic book style, there's a lot of surfaces, all the undersides of everything is, you know exactly what you're gonna do. It's gonna be black, you know, and you have to be really bold with it and say, yeah, it's okay for this to be black, like really black as you can get it. But on certain colors, like yellow, should never get to black. Same thing with white. So you kind of, because they're so light and those colors are light in value, like the darkest tone of that color needs to come up from black to, you know, a lot of times they'll be less saturated. Like with white, it should always be like a medium gray or something like that, you know. So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, what was your question for me, Anthony? How did I get so good looking?
How would you describe your style?
How did I get my style? So for years, I was so happy I didn't have a style. You know, I was like, I didn't want to be that guy who was like, oh, he only paints red, or, you know, it's the green wood elf guy, you know. And so I always thought, like, oh, I'm always changing it up, kind of like what Matt said, you know, changing up styles or changing up just to do something different. You get kind of stir crazy. And then I was at Adepticon one day, and Sam Lenz came up to me and was talking to me, and he goes, oh, what did you enter? And I mentioned one model. He goes, oh, yeah, we totally guessed that was you. And then he's like, what else? And I said another thing. Oh, yeah, we totally. He's like, your style is so recognizable. And I was like, I was happy that they recognized my work, but at the same time, I was kind of bummed out because I thought my whole thing was, I don't have a style. You'll never know what I make, you know? So anyways, that was exciting. Now it's, I don't know. It's kind of one of those funny things, especially when you've been teaching as long as I have. You know, people want to learn different things. So I'm constantly trying to, you know, branch out in different areas and stuff. And sometimes it gets a little confusing. Like you get halfway comic book, halfway realistic, and, you know, maybe that's a new style. I don't know what it is. But, you know, I think, I don't know what my style is. It's just paint fast. Except when I have to do something really good, then it's paint slow. But I'm still pretty quick even when that happens. So
yeah, you paint fast and then you paint slow at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
I know there's some sort of like frivolity to your painting, Aaron. You know, there's like it's not quite like a comic style, but it's like a little lighthearted, you know, and it's colorful and it's cool.
I think a lot of people. So when I first started painting, I solved every problem with my miniatures by making it darker and darker.
Move your mic closer to your mouth.
Closer to me? Okay.
Yeah, somehow you're more quiet.
Am I more quiet now?
Wait, is your mic on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear you okay?
Hello.
Hello.
All right, how'd that work out, Liz? I did change mics. I don't know. At least you can hear me. I got it turned all the way up.
Is it on the HyperX?
Yeah.
You're positive?
Pretty positive.
Because normally you were super loud.
Really? I think it's got to be Anthony's fault here.
Probably.
Properties. Let's look at the properties here. Microphone, HyperX Quadcast. Whatever.
Can you?
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know.
I mean, it definitely went up. I mean, I can switch it back to my face cam, but that won't work on the other screen. So, anyways, what were we talking about?
You solve all your painting issues with making things darker.
As Matt said, very dark. Making it as black as possible. But that was like always my oh, the blend is bad. We'll just make it darker. This is not working. Make it darker. And so all my models were just really dark when I first started, or they felt that way. And I would see other people's work, and they're like, "Wow, that red was really vibrant. Why can't I do that?" And it was, one, I couldn't paint, so I do the hack of, just solving everything with darker tones. So I think I really made a concerted effort to go brighter. Like, the other thing is, I found, like, with doing a lot of army commissions and stuff, we did this one commission one day for my buddy Steve, and he paid a lot of money for this commission. It was like we had to get it done in 2 weeks, and it was for LVO, and he was playing War Machine, and he wanted to be on the main table. That was his goal. He paid a lot of money to be on the main table, and he got on there. And I remember walking over to the table, and I saw his army was on the table, and mind you, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we smoked it. This is such a cool looking army and everything. And as I'm walking up to the table, this army looked like crap. And I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like, he's going to be super pissed. This was like a $6,000 or $7,000 army in a 2-week span, Granted, he wanted high end and he wanted it fast. So there was a lot of rush charges in there. But that being said, I was like, he's still not going to be happy if it looks this bad. And I remember quickly picking up a model and looking at it close, and it looked fantastic, but it looked really horrible from 3 feet away, right? And so that's when I started wondering, like, okay, why is that? And it was like, well, we used white and blue. The blue was a dark blue, and the white was white. So you have nothing. In a darkly lit gaming area, like, it looks horrible. So I started realizing, even at my house, the lighting's not the greatest at the kitchen table. You go to the game store, the lighting's not great. And all the armies that look really good are really bright and vibrant. They're bright, not light, So that's when I started experimenting more with, like, more saturated colors and everything, which that can be bad too, because sometimes you go too saturated. But in other ways, it's great because, like, look at our names. You can see all of our names perfectly on my little HUD here because it's bright ass orange, So I think, I don't know, if I wanted to be known for anything now, it would probably be for, like, just like popping colors, like banging colors, that type of thing. So, and I enjoy that, and it's also a little bit harder to manage sometimes because you got a really bright, vibrant color. What do you do if you have bright green and bright red in the same paint job? Like, you gotta know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's right. The two colors will hate each other so much. Like,
yeah,
they just fight. So I think that's kind of my deal with painting. But my other thing is finding ways to get the most out of speed. And it's kind of funny. I don't know if you're like this too, Matt, but I remember I used to be able to do a space marine in 1 hour, and I could get a pretty good, like, I figured that was as fast as I could go. And then I learned some more things with the airbrush, like airbrushing at the end and stuff like that. And I actually got my space marine down to a half hour, but he looked like my mid-level space marine, which was like a $50 space marine, And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can make $50 every half hour. This is awesome. But after I did that, I was like, well, yeah, but why can't I do it in 15 minutes? Like, it's never fast enough. So you kind of, it is one of those things. So I like getting that initial sort of sketch, the initial look of the figure in an hour or two. Like what I'm doing here for the Marvel figures, I'm going between 3 and 6 hours. I think I think on a little bit bigger figure, 6 hours is good. And also, if I really like the figure, I'm allowing myself a few more hours to play with it. But like in 2 to 3 hours, you can get a really good look on any model. And then you can choose, is this going to be my contest entry or is this going to be just my gaming figure? If it's a gaming figure, you can stop right there. Like there's no need to go any further. The figure looks awesome, you know? But if you want to spend another 20 hours on it, it'll look that much more awesome because basically you're just tightening things up and making them super cool. So,
well, one thing that you said was really interesting was that bit about, you know, when you picked up those models, they looked really great in hand, but then on the gaming table, they just kind of, I don't know, maybe disappeared, bled together and stuff like that. So when I'm doing gaming stuff, I find that I'm painting for the table, you know, and what makes that look better will also make your like competition models look better because it's the thing that makes your model stand out in that case full of all the other entries, you know. So it's like the visual impact at a distance, right? And it has a lot to do with like value contrast and your use of just like how high that contrast is and its proper placement on the figures, you know. So this like super dark black that we're talking about, that's a really good way to do it. It will like, you know, make your stuff really stand out on the tabletop. Like I have 1 hour paint jobs and I teach that at conventions. I call it my sketch style painting, you know. And in a strange way, it's kind of like a similar process to what Anthony's doing, only like as fast as I possibly can. So it's like black and white sketches, and then I apply color over top of that, you know. So that black and white sketch, it's all about understanding light on the figures and like using the full value contrast range on your figure, right? And that's what's gonna like make your stuff look great at a distance. You know, and then like bright colors can add to that too. But if you have that that contrast underneath, you know, that's gonna be really good. You can't just have bright colors that are in a small value contrast range, you know.
Right.
You need to actually, and of course that value contrast should communicate light on the figures and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. You know, these ones I'm spending a little extra time than what I usually do for gaming stuff, but you know, I wanted to really like make that a little bit more precise and everything with the black and all that.
Yeah, I think just add on what you were mentioning, Matt. Also, just like we were saying, like the dark lines and stuff like that. With the definition can help separate like different elements on like a small scale. So then, if you see it from afar, your eye can see those different elements a bit easier. So that like helps. And also, I find that if you can add like a stronger directional lighting, that also creates some contrast and some drama with some, you know, and that can also help your eye read like a small figure from afar as well too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And really value contrast is the first thing your eye sees. And it's also how your eye understands shapes in the environment. So that's why we see it first, because you know, it doesn't matter what color the tiger is, you know, if you didn't see it like sneaking up on you, you know. So yeah, you're still dead. So our brains have evolved to see the value first, and as artists, we're just kind of manipulating that and trying to make something as impactful as possible, like right off the bat, like grab your attention. So like the models my goal is to like have them grab your attention at a distance, look great on the tabletop, and if you pick them up, it will look kind of stylized like a comic book, you know. You know, my typical gaming paint jobs are even more stylized, just kind of but at a distance they look great, you know.
Yeah, I really like the brush strokes you got on like her like pants and stuff like that. You know, it looks really really cool. But I dig it.
Thanks. Yeah. I painted that first one. I'm like, I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to painting it. I have this Gambit ready to go. I actually have I got all the models put together, and I even put together a few extra ones.
Yeah, they're not bad put together actually. They go pretty easy.
So speaking about models, what forces are you guys doing? Matt, you've got.
I've got the I think it's the X-Men. Was it Amazing X-Men maybe or something like that? Yeah.
Okay. And then Anthony.
The Uncanny X-Men.
Uncanny X-Men. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I got X-Force going on.
Right, and then I have the Avengers.
Nice.
I probably know the least about comic books of any of us, so I'm like, that's what they're called. They're the Avengers.
Really cool. Actually, I have Weapon X, and X-Force together. Yeah.
Right. So you don't technically in the game, you don't have to have all Avengers or all X-Men. You can have up to, I think it's just below 50% or something. Also, this is a fun game, so I don't think Dallas cares. His whole goal is just to beat the snot out of us, which he's probably going to do.
So as long as we look good, like dying to his whatever he throws at us, it's fine.
But
I think I added a couple models from outside of the list. Like I have Iceman, even though he's an X-Men too. He wasn't on the Uncanny X-Men list, but I wanted to paint that model because it looked awesome.
That model was really cool. I looked out big time that I got to do the box art for that.
That was cool, man.
That was a really cool one. Some of the I gotta be honest, some of the like the Blob, I don't know who that is. Like
Blob is cool.
And Rhino, I never heard of Rhino either. So it's one of those things. I get it. They send you some concept art and you just copy it, whatever. But the Iceman, I knew who that was, and he was super cool. And then I was also terrified because I'm like, he's 2 colors. I mean, there's more colors packed in there, but he's in effect he's blue and white.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the whole model. Like nothing's any different. And granted, I packed in a lot of other extra stuff. It's kind of like Rhino.
Metallics, right?
Yeah. So I painted it. It was white metallic, the scale 75 white alchemy, and then it just blended. Like I wet blended it to blue, like a bright blue. And I figured, well, it'll kind of make it look shiny in some spots and not shiny in others. I don't know. Let's see if it works. And it did work. So
it was great.
And then a lot of airbrushing in between. So just adding some more tones and stuff. So it wasn't just so boring. But that was a really fun one. I can't wait to see your version of that. The other one I can't wait to see is Wolverine, because all of us have a Wolverine.
Yeah, we do.
Some kind of Wolverine. Yeah.
I'm going to paint him in the classic colors. The
yellow, blue?
No, it's not going to be yellow, blue. It's
green,
that
brown and orange.
Like that brown and orange scheme. I want to do that one.
That's cool. I have Weapon X, so he's naked and he's gonna be pretty messed up.
Yeah, Aaron likes the naked models.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Sorry, Matt, but I think I'm gonna go with Anthony's.
You've seen mine.
I don't play. I play to your audience,
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, so we have our 3 factions. I've gotten 1 game in. I found a local guy here. We have like a Discord. I was in the game. I've been here like 4 years in Augusta, and I went into a game store and they're like, oh yeah, because I was like, I don't really know any gamers. It'd be fun to get a game in sometime. And they're like, oh well, if you just get on our Discord, and the Discord's huge. There's so many people on this Discord, all in the area, and from just low key painters to really good painters to guys that just game all the time. So I found this guy Sliced Bread who's been kind of teaching me the ropes on Marvel Crisis Protocol. And speaking of how most people paint, like he can paint pretty good, but on his Marvel stuff, it's as fast as he can paint it. But he has the entire collection painted. So when I go and practice with him, I just use his models. It's pretty awesome. And that just goes back to he knows what he wants to get out of these figures. And then obviously there's been a couple, he did a Incredible Hulk that he put in some more time on, and his blends were much better than, just sort of the 1-2 hour paint job that he was getting done. but yeah, so I've been hitting up the local scene a little bit, and it looks like there's been a little bit more chat. Of course, then life hit, and I haven't been able to do anything lately. But between Marvel and Shadows of Brimstone, they're actively trying to kill me. But you know, it is what it is. So, you know, I pay the bills. That's good. But I'm hoping that like maybe in August or September to actually get quite a few more games in and stuff. Cause the group of guys, it was just a couple guys talking Marvel Crisis, and now there's like several. So
nice.
I think that would be kind of fun. So hopefully I'll actually be able to be partially competitive against Dallas, or maybe we can blindfold him or something. I don't know. Like, but
it's just fun. You know, I think the game is actually really great.
Yeah.
And even I have fun. It's like one of the few games where even if you're losing, getting smashed, it's still kind of fun, because the more your character gets attacked, the more powerful it gets, right?
Yeah.
You can actually do some cool stuff. So I think it's a nice mechanic.
Once
you know,
you figure out their special abilities and stuff, that's huge. Because I remember the first game I played with my friend John back in San Diego, I was like, my leader just sucked. Like his gun didn't do much, and
would you use?
I can't remember. It's the dude with the he has like puts up a shield in front of him. He has a big old gun. I forget. Gosh, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Anyways,
Cable.
Yeah, I think it was Cable.
Cable.
No, Anthony just did Cable. Oh no, is it Cable? Does Cable have like sort of a bio?
He has like an energy shield.
Oh, okay, then it is Cable. Yeah. So you're
thanks a lot, man.
Your leader
well,
there. Sucks,
Cable back then, he got like he got upgraded, so he's good.
So, but the thing was, I didn't realize that he gave all my guys a reroll. Like through the whole turn, like you don't have to do anything to get that. Like that's just his thing, and that changed my entire game around. And then like, you know, some guys can like shove your characters or pull them, you know, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it is a big deal. Like when you're doing stuff. And then the other thing I really liked is, you know, how you can just pick up a building and throw it at your opponent, and it feels so much like the comic, like the movies and stuff, you know. So I really like that. It's got a good dynamic, and you only got like 5 to 7 guys to figure out what they do, and so it's not that hard to start getting it, you know. I mean, I'll never be like pro model Marvel player, but it'll be fun, and I'll have some cool looking figures to play with. So that always works out. So cool. Do anybody want to paint anything, or?
Yeah, I was kind of itchy. I'm like, man, I feel like painting now.
Yeah, so to be clear, before we started, Matt's like, I don't think I'm going to paint tonight.
This is how I always go.
We start talking and you get excited. It's like talking with Ben Comets, you know. It's like you just want to go, you know, jump off, like, just start painting right away. So, okay, let me switch. We are going to
maybe this,
pushing the wrong screen. I'm such an idiot. Oh no, not that one.
Go back to
layout. Change layout. We got it.
Up at the top.
And then I want to pin it. Okay, Matt, you're pinned.
No.
Cool.
Click the pin. And for myself only, you're not done.
So I got my colors out down here, you know, we can kind of see the palette that I've chosen for Gambit here.
Cool.
And the nice thing about these Marvel, and you can just look at the comic books and kind of choose out, you know, what you think. They're usually pretty simple. And I think I might start by just giving some color to his
you want
slash here.
Come down a little bit too. You're
okay.
just out of the screen. Yeah. There you go.
Thanks, man.
It's so much easier than when you're filming by yourself. Like if you have someone else go, "Hey, you're out of frame."
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've made a miniature monthly video and then had to repaint an area, and I'm just like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." Not recently, but at the start, it was a pain.
So that, like right now, it's just about just getting some basic colors on places. And the thing about this way of painting is it does look pretty rough for a good portion of the time, even up until you get into that the black stage. But you know, what we can do is just have some. I always start with some very thin color with this, because then we can kind of take advantage of the different primer that we have on there, like the white and the gray. I'm just getting.
Is that acrylic ink, or are those inks?
No, this is just acrylic paint, but I use artist acrylics, so they're a bit more transparent than your typical miniature paints. So this is just some burnt umber.
What are you just thinning down with water?
Yeah. I just have a little bit of water on my brush when I load it up, and it's enough.
I've been trying to get Matt to convert over to morning urine, but he's not taking it.
No, I mean, I did think about doing seal tears for a while, but I can't afford that sort of thing.
Yeah, probably illegal too. Who knows?
Yeah. You don't want to get fishing on a life on yours.
So this is not like, you're not putting this on like a wash, because I noticed it's not really pooling. You're kind of trying to get a fairly even layer down, or
fairly even layer down. No, yeah, you want to kind of a fairly even layer down. You can let it wash like a little bit,
right?
And you can also, of course, depending on how you brush onto the figure, you can kind of concentrate it. So see here where it's like kind of washed a little bit.
Yeah.
I could, brush only in one direction, and that's how we're all familiar with that, because that's how we blend using glazes when we're using a glaze. But not. It's all about brushing in one direction. So you can, once you have that glaze over an area, move it around and concentrate it more in one area, and not have to depend on it flowing into the crevices. Because the problem with using a wash to get definition and you have your shadows and highlights is that's not what light does. It doesn't just pool in the it's not like a liquid that pools into cracks and crevices and stuff. So what we would want to do if you're doing it this way is to get a thin glaze over an area and then brush only towards the shadows, so that it pools more into the shadows than into the highlights. So you're kind of getting that the white underneath is helping your highlight be brighter. Of course, this is like probably the most boring part of the painting, is the very beginning, but
gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
But you're able to get a pretty smooth coat with these with this kind of thin down artist acrylics. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So unlike what maybe some of the viewers might be used to, getting like a solid base coat with no variation in it, we're not really doing that. It is a bit more like the effect you would get from like a contrast paint or a wash or something like that. But there is that whole idea about light and stuff like that. And then the next application is going to be even more of that. There's also, like, at this time, I'm kind of trying to plan out where my black is going to go. And some areas I might not care quite as much about, because I just know this black's going to go over that area.
So are you kind of working off a reference picture at all, or are you just like this is what Gambit's going to look like?
I pulled up a few reference photos. Yeah, I was gonna that I was gonna use, and I actually had it up on my screen, like just for me to look at.
Yeah.
A lot of Gambit's pictures are very like because there's that glow from his the effects of his card throwing and everything. Yeah. There are a lot of times like really moody, So it's a little different. One thing that I'm planning on doing is like having the black separate the model in two halves, like one half being what's lit by his this like sort of the effect of his mutant powers, and then the other half sort of receiving light from the environment. So yeah, that's the idea. Now, I like to kind of go through and get everything a little bit of color. So instead of just painting like the coat first and then moving on to the next area, we're just gonna, be going through here and giving each area some color. So his like chest piece and stuff, a lot of that is going to be magenta. So I have some bright magenta here. This is quinacridone magenta. And we're just gonna,
which is a really good magenta.
Yeah, I really like it. Actually, I have a couple different brands of it here, but it's a modern pigment and is just really bright and nice. It's like on the reddish side too, and quite transparent. Like, because like with this technique, we want to have the paints be sort of transparent and less opaque, which is different than what a lot of miniature paints, are doing. Because we're so used to having that like high opacity, there's a lot of painters that want to paint over black primer, in which case like a high opacity is really key. A lot of the miniature paints that have like really high opacity, it's a little harder to paint this style if you were to do that. But the artist acrylics are instead they're kind of specialized, instead of towards opacity, they're specialized towards vibrancy. So like they have the brighter colors than you can get with a miniature paint most of the time, because a lot of times the way the miniature paints get the high opacity is through adding white into it. Also, a lot of miniature paints have a very flat finish that can degrade the vibrancy of the paint as well. So that's why one of the reasons why I like these, and I use it for all my painting. And also artist acrylics also have a price advantage over miniature paints. You get a lot more paint for your buck, and it's still very high quality.
Matt, we were talking about like reference photos. Like I just want to plug for Marvel United, which is an app on the phone. You can it's like nice. $50. Yeah, it's like $50 a month, and you can get access to like the entire Marvel collection of comics. So then you can search up your character that you're painting, and then you can just look up different artist interpretations of that painter of that character, and have a lot of inspiration. So I think it's a good resource.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, you can read a bunch of comics too. I don't know if I have $50 a month for that personally, but I guess I could write that off though. So
$50 a year, Matt.
Oh, a year. I thought you said a month. I'm like,
I thought you said a month too. I was like, Anthony's
okay. That makes sense.
It's really worth it. Yeah, we can read everything up from like the beginning of time. It's awesome.
Dude, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Wait, you heard him say a year too, right?
I heard him say Anthony, you said it.
Well, the rewind LSD.
You're like, it's only $50 a month, and I was like, holy cow, man! You can get ZBrush for less than that.
my bad, Marvel and AMG. It's $50 a year.
Yeah.
I'm like, Anthony's getting a $25 kickback for every app sale or whatever. It's all good. It's all good. So the Quinacridone magenta, is that supposed to be like the light coming off of the magic effect, or is that actually those?
No, this is the color of his actual costume.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But we will be using the magenta in the magic effect as well. I've just put like some fluorescent red onto there.
Yeah. Y'all know how fluorescents paint like butter, right?
They're like really weak, but the thing is, like, when you put that fluorescent underneath what you're gonna do, it really like it adds that extra kick of
Where it shows through,
but
yeah.
vibrancy. So right now it looks really bad, but we'll be doing more to that later.
Yeah.
Um,
That's something to always remember when you're for those of you at home that are not maybe the greatest painters ever, is just because something's looking bad at first doesn't mean it'll look bad forever. So
yeah. Trust me, it's not going to look this bad forever. I know this is probably like really.
It's not, I know, like I don't know. It does not look bad. I mean, it's like
this doesn't look bad at all.
No,
but like if you had never painted OSL before, you would look at that OSL and be like, I know that's not what I'm looking for, But you don't realize that's how it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saying? And so, Matt has the experience of, well, all of us have kind of the experience of we've done it before. It's not our first rodeo. So like you kind of know what's going to happen. Also, sometimes like when I'm painting textures and stuff, I will on purpose paint a really bad base coat down, like on a jacket or something, just to start the texture,
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a means to an end, Whereas when I first started, it was like everything had to be perfectly smooth. Then you come back and painstakingly put a texture back in, which was a nightmare.
Well, I think that there is definitely ways that you can paint that where it's like it never looks rough, it never looks like, but it just it's very time consuming and the results aren't, better in the end,
Right.
So and also I just find it like really freeing to basically reserve the really meticulous work for just part of the painting. It's more variety in what you get to do, and it's a lot more. I just prefer it.
I think, but I also think it's also different, right? It's like, to achieve like the perfect finish and like perfect gradients and like everything perfect, that's a really cool painting style too, and I think that's really awesome for what it is. But then it also looks like it's like almost like like they're in a studio with like set lighting, and so you don't get as much of like it looks a bit more static, but it looks amazing, but also a bit more static. But when you can see more of your brush strokes and different variations in color and different, webs of color and brushstrokes together, I think it gives it a bit more of an organic look as well too. So it depends on what you want to go for. There's merits in different styles for sure.
Yeah, and like you see it all the time with great artists. A lot of times they start out and everything looks perfect, and then they might want to experiment with something that's a bit more rough and stuff. Like take Rembrandt for example. His stuff looks just his earlier work looks photorealistic and very expressive, and I love that part. But as he got older, he experimented with that really thick pasty type painting, and that's the direction that like painting ended up going in history. But it definitely cost him because it was so far ahead of his time. It was like not in vogue at that time. But it's kind of like we want to experiment with different ways to paint different looks as well.
Yeah, I actually think it's pretty important to learn different styles, because you never know what you might actually gravitate towards, or what might feel more natural to you, or what you may want to, like the style that you like, for your own quote unquote style, right? And I think that you can also borrow different aspects of different styles of painting that can really define, how you end up painting,
Yeah, you never really know unless you try it, and you might end up kind of choosing different styles for different subjects. That's what I ended up doing for my painting. Both high end and then gaming. And it's not just about like you know, what the end like level result you're going for. It's also like what kind of how you're feeling, what you want to try, or like what kind of feeling you want to present with the piece, you know?
Yeah.
Because like a really painterly approach might not be appropriate for everything. And a really realistic approach might not be appropriate either. So
that being said, we're about 15 minutes into Matt's paint job. He's almost done with the figure, and no.
Yeah, I mean,
you see how quickly it goes, though, to get those base layers on. You know, obviously, the more work you put into it, the tighter it will get and all that stuff. But for those of you out there who are just like, I just want to get my guys done, this could be a great way just to start. I mean,
yeah, I think this is kind of like universally applicable, just way to get things rolling, you know. And I know with this style, it really comes alive once we can get that black inking in, but that's near the end. We're probably not going to get there tonight, but really we're just kind of getting the starts of that color on there. So probably not the most important, most interesting thing to watch. Maybe one of these other episodes we can see the ink stage go on.
No, but I think though, like because of that, you know, the white on gray primer, you can still get kind of interesting volumetry even with just at this stage, and you can kind of start to see like the approach that you're going for, you know, and it's actually really quick. I mean, literally it was like maybe 15-20 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I looked at the clock. So.
Yeah. I thought you're bullshit. I thought you're just like just saying that. I was like, oh no, actually it was 15.
Yeah.
It's pretty fast. Yeah.
It goes a little faster because we're all jibber jabbering, but
yeah. It's cool though.
Yeah. So here I've just taken like a little bit of black and mixed some blue into it so that the black has a little bit of color just to start with. And then also we could, you know, have a little bit of black mixed with magenta. And we can use that for like the next state in the area where there might be some of the light from his mutant powers in there. So a lot of times with the black, we want to areas that are going to be, you know, his pants are black, right? So we don't want to try to go there too quickly because it's just going to be this big sea of black. Which actually you see some of the color ways he's depicted in comics, it really is that way, like with little like white lines, sort of allowing us to see the boundaries and stuff. But I wanted to do things a little bit different.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about the comics. Like it's there's never like one style even throughout like a series, you know, like they'll often have different artists, pencil and ink and color, different issues within a series, and it's kind of refreshing to see different interpretations of a character.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that makes comic book art unique is it's like you have the same characters but different artists depicting them, and they evolve visually as well as you know, following all their stories and everything. It's really a unique art form. I think miniatures is kind of a unique art form too, because like in a similar sort of way, you have multiple versions of the same sculpture that we might see as well, and different artists sort of interpreting that, or even like taking a sculpture and adding their whole completely different story and take on it, and I think that's cool too. So, maybe comic books and miniatures have this neat overlap that makes them almost like uniquely ideal for us to paint.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but it's a good observation. So how did you pick the characters on your team, Matt? Is just because of like you like them, or you like their sculpt, or
I think what it was is like for me, I was really into the 1990s cartoon.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I basically have all of those characters with the exception of like, Shadow. I don't think Shadowcat was in it, but basically I have all the Uncanny X-Men from that cartoon, basically.
They need to make a morph. Seriously. Like why is there
I think the only one I don't have is Nightcrawler, and then I also have like Iceman, who wasn't really in the cartoon, and Shadowcat. So I even like have, I think I have Beast, Rogue, Storm, Professor X, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Gambit. Do they have Jubilee?
Yeah. Oh no, they need to make a Jubilee too. Make Jubilee and Morph.
Yeah. So there you go. Like, I was like, I couldn't. So maybe they'll make Jubilee. I'll paint her at some point.
Yeah, they need to do a Jubilee Morph character pack.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I chose my characters. I don't know if they're gonna all play super well together, but what I heard is like you can kind of make things work.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too concerned, and I just kind of wanted to like do that, and these were characters that I had the most connection with because of that cartoon, which I watched all the time. It was like actually like my favorite cartoon to watch when I was a kid.
Yeah,
you kind of go back and watch it and you're like, oh, this is different than I remember. But
but the new X-Men '97 is really cool though. I feel like it has a similar art style, but I feel like the story is a bit more modern. So
I can't remember if Gambit has like naked. If his hands are flesh colored. Let me just take a quick look.
Gloves, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I could see him having gloves, or you could see him not having gloves. So let's see.
But I mean, reference photos,
Yeah. It's actually kind of hard to tell from these comic book photos.
Painter's choice.
Yeah, I'll just kind of. Looks like he might have like partial gloves. No.
He's got like finger gloves.
Yeah. He's got gloves except for his like pointer and middle finger, the fingers you would use to throw the cards. He's kind of got like finger gloves. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of good to know. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. It actually looks like two of his fingers are completely covered, maybe.
His third and his fourth finger.
Yeah.
Like the other fingers have their fingers exposed.
Interesting.
So
this is why you always look at reference. No, I think it's too small. So it's good that we can kind of look at that sort of thing and get in there.
Take it. So apparently Gambit has gotten new rules, and he's better because he used to really suck.
Yeah, he used to really suck. How did he get any rules?
Apparently he has new rules. Well, the guy I was talking about before, Sliced Bread, is in the chat with us, and he said that he's looking forward to seeing people actually play the model again. So.
Oh no! Well, I'm just here to have fun, so
Matt, clearly Matt has gotten all the broken figures from Marvel. He's got an inside scoop with Dallas, and no.
Hey, I was just saying, like, I played Gambit in a tournament when he sucked, and I blew up Venom in like one turn. So I don't know.
There you go.
He was pretty sweet. It's all about the dice, guys. You got to pray the right
dice. I like that their dice are different too. They're not like normal. Like you can't just bring normal dice to a game. You got to have theirs, which I guess some people may not like, but I like that. It makes a difference,
like
you know.
Yeah. I wish they would allow like the aftermarket dice though, like in the colors of your team. But I think they should make different types of AMG official dice. I think
well, Andy, you could always Anthony, you could always make some out of Blender, you know, and build your own.
That's you, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
I got bigger fish.
We're not allowed to talk about that, Aaron.
Oh my gosh. Did you see T-Boat sculpted some stuff in ZBrush? Well, it was just a cape for his.
The cape for his.
That was really cool. I was so proud of him. I was like, I messaged him like, dude, I'm so glad you did that. And he goes, yeah. To be honest, I was a little bit jealous when you did the Hogwarts thing. So it's like, good. I'm glad that got you off your butt and you learned a new skill.
Cool, man. I wish I could devote time. Me and Matt were trying to like do some sculpting, but I think life got in the way.
Yeah, it takes a lot of.
That got in the way.
A lot of practice, a lot of time.
I've been doing some physical sculpting though on some pieces for Verco's Vault here. Just conversion, but like heavily resculpting stuff and just adding a lot of really intricate things to some of these things. So, but Anthony was trying to get me into digital sculpting, and I might still get into it here. I was thinking about taking a class with like
Africa or something.
Yeah, Africa or something like that if I have time at Adepticon.
So the hard part with that, like I think that class would be very effective if you have your feet wet and you kind of know your way around the program. If you don't, you're gonna be so lost. Like.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, I was watching the tutorials are pretty good online too.
Yeah,
so I was watching.
And there's
stuff.
like you can there's okay, I won't say everyone's good on YouTube, but there are some really good people who know what they're doing and they can teach it to a beginner. Both in Blender and in ZBrush, and so there are those options available. Or like what's the like you can take classes with it. It's like an online classes thing, and they just teach everything. But shoot, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Lynda.com.
Something like that. But usually they have sales and stuff, so a lot of times like an $80 course is $20, and I've bought some of those, because it's just like, wow,
Masterclass.
Yeah, it's like a master class or whatever.
So there's a lot of areas that I don't really have to paint on this because they're going to be black. I'm kind of like, oh shoot, got a little paint on it.
Hey, we actually have a lot of people in the
whatchamacallit?
In the mushroom.
Yeah, in the mesh pot. We suckered some people in, didn't we?
Oh, there's the people.
I don't know. I pulled up the Twitch thing, but I didn't realize that was also the screen that's in Twitch, so it was just like this weird.
No, I'm watching
I know.
the Twitch stream now, and so that's pretty cool. Seeing that.
Whoa. Put this over on this. Yeah, there we go.
And then go back, click over on the left side. There you go.
There we go. All right, cool. Oh, shoot. Wait, what the heck? Did I mess that up?
Yep.
No. Okay. Good Lord Almighty. All right, did I do
We'll get better with it, more practice.
Oh my gosh. Somebody
It's
just... Someone needs to put me down. Shoot.
Liz.
Which one's sliced bread? Who's sliced bread?
Sliced bread is my guru, my teacher. We got to figure out a way. I need to figure out a way to get Sliced bread to come to Adepticon, and he'll be like my coach. He won't coach you guys at all, but yeah, it's over on that screen now. Yeah. This is what happens when you have 4 monitors and a couple of them aren't.
Why is Eric Swinson up?
What? I don't know what's up.
Oh. Sweet.
It was on the right.
Love.
It was on the right one before.
It's on matte painting now.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm drawing it from there, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then.
Which one do I click on? OBS. Okay.
Yes.
I've got it. Hey, everything's totally
Look
cool.
at that. And now you can read.
Oh, I can't read because I don't have my glasses on.
Put your eyeballs on.
That's right. So what's it like to still be able to see, Anthony?
I don't know. I can't tell you. It's horrible.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I've had to use like thicker and thicker magnifiers.
Does that mean I have the best eyesight of all of you guys?
Oh my
Probably
gosh.
do. Yeah, you probably do.
Hey. Good times.
I think, Matt, you are actually the youngest.
I am?
Yeah.
How old are you?
Wait.
I was born in 82.
Oh, I'm born in 82 as well too, but my birthday's
Oh,
in May.
okay. Oh, yeah, I guess I am the youngest then.
Wow. Oh, so Matt's the baby. Oh my gosh.
That's the baby.
It's just that Anthony looks way better than us. That's
Anthony looks like he's 12 or something, which is not a bad thing. Like,
Hey man, you have to drink unicorn blood, you know, and then you're good.
is that
So
what it is?
I'm reporting it. And seal tears also help too. So I don't use it for painting, but I use it for my rejuvenating my youthful looks.
Yeah, well, you know, I paint miniatures for a living, so I can't afford those seal tears.
Must be nice.
97, baby. Sliced bread was born in 97.
My guru was born in 97. Now he's the baby.
He's the baby,
I
yeah.
bet if we could talk him into going to Adepticon, maybe he would like tell us just like we would move the models, but he would tell us what to do.
That's amazing, sliced bread.
Yeah. He's, like I said, he has like all of the models, almost all of them. He's like missing just a couple.
That's awesome.
I want to get taught by sliced bread. Shoot.
Yeah, he might, you know, just fly him out to Chicago. He's,
Hey, do you guys know the Alfredo guys? The Alfredo Discord folk?
It sounds
like a foodie type thing.
Yeah, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're like a competitive like MCP group. I think they used to do like War Machine, but they host these tournaments, MCP tournaments in Chicago at a brewery, which is amazing, you know. So I was trying to get in on that, and then they adopted me into their little competitive group, even though I'm not very competitive at MCP, but they're a good group of guys.
Cool. Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit out in the boonies here a little bit, so I don't really have much going on here, but I got
to get Ellie to play with you and learn the game.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to get her into the game, but her brother is a is a gamer, so I might get him or
into playing with you.
Yeah.
You know, you should just have a kid and then teach your kid how to play. That's what I do.
Yeah, I'd have to be playing the long game for that though.
Yeah, like Eli, I used to play like at the height. I played Eli. My kid, he's 10 now. Like twice a week for a while. He has his spider buddies.
Nice. I might try to get like my old boss to play. He works for Atomic Mass now, but I don't know.
Oh yeah.
He lives about 90 minutes from me, so.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Try to suck her into.
I'm not sure, but I think you might be able to play online too.
Really?
Sliced bread, chime in.
Sliced bread. Are all your models painted? Because that he has all but 8 models. That's pretty intense. You can play on Tabletop Simulator.
Tabletop Simulator, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that might be a thing here at some point. Yeah, Dormammu. Is that his name? Dormammu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always call him Dorimamu. I don't know. I painted that box art too, but
That was the first box art.
that was the first box art I ever painted for them.
Not
period, but
not period.
just to be fair, no.
So right now I'm doing my second pass, which is a lot more fun, and I'm just kind of I'm able to either use the same color again, because the more layers you do, the darker it will get. So
yeah, because the first one was very see-through, but I also noticed the jacket's starting to turn magenta in areas too.
Yeah, because I'm just going over with magenta in those areas, and it's starting the lighting effect, and then the black is actually going to separate the magenta areas from the other areas.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's looking pretty cool. What color are you using? Are you just using the same paint, but just building up layers so it's darker, or are you using a different color?
I mixed a little bit of sepia into the burnt umber right now for the shadows on the non-lit side, basically. On the lit side, I was just using magenta and then concentrating it down into the shadows, but glazing over the whole area so it tints like the whole area.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if people want me to zoom in or anything like that, I can, but it's going to look pretty rough right now.
I think it's perfect where it's at because.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good. You're kind of getting the main ideas down.
Another thing we can do is just kind of have it get like a little bit darker brown into the background a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So like that. So sometimes I'll lay down a bunch of color like that, and then I can use a second brush to sort of blend that final transition where it touches the previous color. So we're kind of like pulling out a lot of tricks. So I'll kind of like paint in an area just like roughly, and then you only need to blend the transition between that and the previous area. Of course, I dropped my brush here. Normally, I would always be carrying that one. Oops.
So the 2-brush blend thing that was made super popular by Privateer. Is that? I mean, I had never seen it anywhere else. And then when Privateer started, like Ron, I saw him at a Gen Con and he was doing demos, and I was just like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah, the 2-brush blending. That was how I originally learned how to blend, because when I started working for Privateer, I basically like got my foot in the door packaging models in their warehouse.
Oh,
I had a lot of
you
skills.
Started from the bottom.
Yeah, I started from the bottom. And yeah. I had actually like won a Golden Demon at that point. Not that it is the same thing as it is today. Like the paint level was very different back then. But I knew I wanted to take my shot at being a miniature painter. But I didn't know how to blend. There was no YouTube at the time. There was nobody to teach me. There was no classes being taught. Nothing. So but the studio head at the time, his name was Mike McVeigh, and he was the head of the original Games Workshop studio. He kind of took me under his wing, along with his wife Allie, who was their main miniature painter at that time, along with Ron Cruzy, and they taught me the 2-brush blending method. And I still use it today, although I use both wet blending and blending with glazes as well. So I kind of have like those 3 blending methods that I'll use in my painting. And actually, you know, I could also use an airbrush to blend or stuff like that. Though I don't use the airbrush as much in my painting for a number of reasons, which I won't go into. But yeah. So it was the first way I learned how to blend, and it's really versatile. And it's also really nice for like fixing mistakes and just painting really deep and hard to reach areas, because you can just kind of plan to make mistakes and just clean them up really fast. So you don't have to be as afraid of that sort of thing.
That's super cool. So was the 2-brush blend thing, was that kind of a Mike McVeigh thing, or was that like, because honestly, I'd never heard of it before.
You know, I mean, like, that's where I learned it from, and I don't know if he. I would be surprised if he like invented it or something like that. But definitely, that was basically like how they blended.
Well, it's kind of like Ben comments as the loaded brush. He didn't invent that, you know, but he kind of is known for it, you know, like he made it popular. So I'm sure the 2-brush blend is something similar to that. I'm sure some little old lady painting flowers painted that way from the very beginning, you know. But I just remember it was definitely a privateer press thing. Like nobody else was doing it. It seemed like so.
Yeah, we were the ones who sort of popularized it, and I taught you know, all of the studio painters that came after me, so a lot of them ended up teaching it as well.
Right.
And it just kind of grew from there. It's still not as popular as like other blending methods, but I think that it's really useful for a lot of different things, especially working fast. I find I use glaze blending a lot more than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of just switch between all 3 of those, wet blending and glazes and the 2-brush method. But
it's kind of whatever works. Or the look that you want, I guess, is more appropriate, right?
Yeah, it's like kind of both of those things, I would say. I know that like painting, you know, for the private press studio models, you had to 2-brush blend some of that. I mean, you had to 2-brush blend some of that stuff. Otherwise, it just would not look the same. Like, I had some, you know, painters that I was teaching, and they were frustrated with the 2-brush blending, and they tried painting the same color scheme without it, and it just didn't. Some of the key colors just didn't end up looking the same. And consistency is like so key in studio painting, especially like that type of studio painting when you're painting like really iconic armies and stuff like that. I would say like studio painting, say these like Marvel characters or something, where they all sort of have their own individual paint schemes, a little different, but when you have sort of these unifying army paint schemes, you kind of want them.
They've got to look the same.
Yeah.
So Sliced Bread has all but 15 characters painted in the whole.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
that's like 100, right?
So he's got this deal going with his buddy. His buddy buys the figures, gives them to him. In fact, the game we were playing, his buddy came and dropped them off, like a whole new set, like Sandman and stuff. And then he paints them, and then they both play with them. So it's like this mutual thing where they both benefit each other, and that's super cool. I can't remember his buddy's name though, but I'll have to get into the game at some point too.
Yeah, I used to do something a little bit like along those lines with the owner of the local game stores when I was growing up, because, you know, I was, you know, a kid, didn't have a job, or, you know, I had a summer job, but, you know, miniatures are pricey or whatever. And so when the new release would come out, I would paint one up for him, and that was how I got a lot of painting experience in. And then he could use those to sell the game. kind of strangely like you know, what I ended up doing
It's
for
like
a long
one of
time.
those sucker fishes, you know, like mutually
Or
beneficial.
Yeah.
Symbiotic relationship. It happens in nature, so it must be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good, man.
Yeah, you're definitely getting a lot more tone and stuff in there, but also fairly quickly. Like that's, I don't know. I think a lot of people think that like, I mean, you could call this like glazing, or partial washing. I don't know, but a lot of people think it just takes so long, and it doesn't necessarily have to take that long if you kind of know what you're doing. I mean, obviously, Matt. Yeah, I can see where you like put paint down and then you start moving it around, and sometimes you take it off, or you know, like it just didn't do what you wanted it to do. Your normal guy starting out probably wouldn't have the wherewithal to do that, so you end up with a lot of problem areas. But that's where practice comes in, you know.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this style I think is applicable for different levels of painter, but to really like make it shine, of course, it it always helps to have more tricks in the tricks in your sleeve.
Yeah, I think it's good to like study different aspects of painting, you know, like how to render volumes, because if you have an idea of what you want to go for and you have something in your mind already and you execute on that, it's going to be a lot easier than just kind of experimenting and see what works and what doesn't work. I mean, that's always cool to do. It just takes longer, and you may have some things that you didn't intend and you have to fix it, you know. But if you study how you know, how light works over volumes, then that would help your process look better, faster.
Yeah, and actually the speed paint method that I teach, the sketch style, that's what it's all about, is like both getting models painted quickly and studying volume, basically. Like you're doing those things at the same time. And like, yeah, the value sketch that like we were talking about before is like how we do that. So it's actually like how you would learn painting in a more like traditional setting.
Yeah.
So if you go to art school or something like that, they'd probably set up some sort of like just a collection of objects and have you paint or draw that in black and white, you know, no colors. And then after you're done doing that, they would just move the lights in the room and have you do the exact same thing again. So you're studying like how light defines those shapes and volumes. And then so it's a way to learn it, and we can do the same thing, just you know, with our different models and stuff like that. So different models in your crew or whatever, trying out different lighting directions, trying to figure out what lighting is going to be the most dramatic for your piece, or just kind of being inspired by different lighting effects that you see in art, you know. And through that study, getting better and better at painting, because that's going to travel through all of your all of your levels of painting, from your lowest to your best painting. So
for sure. Hey, sliced bread. When you played Gambit in your Brotherhood list, was Magneto your leader? I think like Gambit, like I think you can get his like big spender off, then you could potentially like roll a whole bunch of like crazy dice. I think it's just like trying to get him enough power, right? That's why I think he's probably pretty decent in your professor list, right, Matt? Because you can cycle power around and get him some power.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Like, I haven't really like dove into the rules yet, so I'm gonna have to do that and figure out how to use him. I just decided I was gonna pick characters that I liked, and then go from there, you know, and have a few extras in case there were certain characters that didn't jive with how I wanted to play. Yeah, so that's the plan right now, but I haven't really got the chance to dive in the rules and play my first game and all that. So Yeah, any tips people have, I'm all ears.
Yeah. I think at least in the last iteration of Gambit, I haven't seen his new rules, but like he was not super durable, so he can be easily like dazed or KO'd. But then he needs a lot of power to do what he needs to do. So if you play like a leader with that can give him power, then he can do like cool stuff more quickly and more efficiently. I think that's good. But Slice Bread. I wanted to restate the question. So Slice Bread, I was wondering. Oh, Gambit's Ballers and Avengers. Okay, cool. Slice Bread, did you play Gambit in a Magneto with Magneto as your leader in Brotherhood, or could you make him work with Mystique?
Oh, and thanks for the subscription, Slice Bread.
Yeah.
Subscription. I don't know what that means, but that's awesome.
You get paid some money.
Oh, okay, sweet. We'll be able to.
Is pickled peach Liz?
Yes, that's
mine.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey Matt, when you're painting Gambit, I was about to put Gambit together. I wanted to paint him because he's a cool character. Is it kind of hard to paint him with all the stuff getting in the way, like his like energy things and?
Like I personally don't mind it at all, but it's gonna be up to you. I tend to try to have everything put together if I can, so all my models will be completely put together when I'm painting. This sort of thing. I don't do sub-assemblies personally, and I think that part of that is the two-brush method of painting allows you to clean up mistakes. So like if I was like trying to paint around and I like made a big mistake like that, I just take my second brush and we wipe it off. So I don't really have to care too much. I could be painting his coat, and then you'll be able to feel when your brush makes contact with the figure, and just quickly pick that paint back up. So that's why I don't really care quite as much. And sometimes I do sub-assemblies in my more complicated painting, but for this sort of thing, that's not what.
Yeah. I mean, if I can, I like to also not paint with sub-assemblies because I like to see the whole figure as a whole when I'm painting it.
It's easier to keep your light situation correct.
Yeah.
I think.
There's ways to get around the light situation thing, but basically you have to, have the whole thing like put together, do a value sketch of the lighting on it, and then, take the assemblies apart, so you could have it like sort of stuck together temporarily and do a value sketch using the airbrush, and then you have like the lighting recorded onto the figure while you're painting each sub-assembly. So like for example, like one of my crystal brush pieces called the Journey of Creation, which was like really complicated, like dioramic piece. It had to be painted in sub-assemblies, and that's how I did it. And I had like a really complex lighting effect on it with like 3 different colors of light and everything. That's how it was achieved, and keeping it all consistent throughout, while painting everything separate. So
cool.
Yeah.
The Slice Bread is giving some cool tech about his list, bringing a lot of low point characters to try to pick up as many objective tokens and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I think there's you can either go what they say like a tall list, so having very few characters but having them be very powerful and high value, or you can have a bunch of like a wide list where there's a bunch of lower point characters. I think that the challenge is with a wide list is to you'll never be able to go first because the person who goes last. Yeah, the person who goes last will go won't go first, right? So if you have a bunch of models and you get to make the first move the next turn, but I think it's kind of interesting to be able to, I guess, grab a bunch of objectives and then also get your characters around objectives, and because I guess when you score objectives when you're around a secure an objective that doesn't move, right? You count points by healthy characters. So if they're a 3-point versus a 6-point character, doesn't really matter, right? It's just per character.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
There's definitely starting to get a lot more definition and stuff now.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking I almost want to. I'm just gonna go a bit more, and then maybe we can get a little bit of that black painted in there a little bit.
You are right at the 1 hour mark. It's not too bad.
Nice, not too bad.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it's awesome.
So Anthony, when I met you, you were going for Privateer Press glory with the painting competitions and stuff. Did you actually play the game back then, or were you just painting display stuff?
Yeah, no, I don't. With gaming figures, I very rarely paint display stuff. I always try to paint my gaming figures to a competition level. So I won. What would you say?
So you never finish an army?
I actually got a fully painted circle army in Privateer Press, and my leader was Morvana, who I won the Grandmaster with. And
yeah, that was a really pretty model. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And I actually played with her at Adepticon once, and then it was a game at 2 in, and then I knocked her off a hill.
Oh no!
She broke, and I was like, "Oh god damn
it!" You painted her once, you can paint her again.
That was that, yeah. Because I had her have I converted her sword into a falchion kind of thing, a spear sword thing, and so she was very prone to getting hooked on the stuff and
Yeah, and that model, the terrain you had made her out of was foam, right? So
no, it was actually it foam?
I think it was.
I think it was cork. No, it was definitely the rocks were definitely magic sculpt that I sculpted, but I don't know if the core might have been foam or cork or something.
Regardless, it was very top heavy, and
it was top heavy.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So I could see how she'd be prone to being knocked over. Probably needed a super weighted base or something like that for gaming.
Yeah, I think I glued a huge washer underneath or something. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's cool to paint gaming pieces to high standard, It's just it's just fun when you're playing with them,
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So Anthony, do you do any larger scale models? I mean, I know you do busts and stuff, but do you do 54 millimeter, 75, that type of thing, or are you mostly just doing the bust now, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have some. I have I have a 72 millimeter figure I'm working on, this one of the Big Tail Spartans.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on that.
Yeah, the one that you were working on at Adepticon.
At Adepticon, yeah. I mean, I think different scales are actually pretty interesting, and then they let you do different things. Actually, I painted a 72 millimeter Gambit from Night Models, as well as a Yoda.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love the Gambit. It was inspired by like a Jim Lee, I think it was a Jim Lee piece. Gambit kind of like kind of like in the dusk or dawn, and just kind of like blowing up a bunch of like terrain and stuff, and being pretty like messed up. So that's kind of was my inspiration. But yeah, how about you, Aaron? Do you paint? Do you paint larger stuff besides Avatar?
I'd much rather paint larger stuff. Let's put it that way. At this point, seems nobody sends me that, but that's what I'd rather paint. Just because I can see it better. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place. I would like to do more larger scale models, but I've done a few busts here and there, but I don't know. Can't really say I've ever like painted like I've painted some busts, but none of them. I don't know. It's nothing that I'm like, oh my gosh, check this out. You know.
I really liked your Alfonso Anonymous bust that you painted like at my house, like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
That one? Yeah, it was like a druggie.
I have both of those.
A sunburned druggie bum.
I have two of them. Yeah, he was the strung out guy.
Yeah, it was cool, man. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I never finished that though. It's kind of like one of those things like you do a class and you just never finish the model. I was so I got a bunch of my buddies to go do the Swinson class when he came to Atlanta. So I was like, and he's like, why are you taking my class? I'm like, well, one, I just like to take it, but two, supporting a friend and blah, 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 whatever. But anyways, we were having a blast in that class, and he came by and he goes, you going to finish this model? And he looked at me and he goes, he just answered the question. He goes, no. I'm like, it would be cool, but I feel like I would need to do, like, I don't know. There's no reason to finish it. The closest I came to finishing one of those models was I took the Sergio Calvo class in San Diego, and I had a blast taking that class. Like, the model was really cool and everything. And then I got done, and I'm like, I'm definitely finishing this. And then I looked at it, and, like, it's a class, right? So you're always trying new things, or, I just wasn't paying attention enough. And I had some really thick paint on there in some spots, and I'm like, I would have to strip this down, and I really don't want to. So, yeah, I just didn't worry about it.
Yeah, I kind of like when I take classes, I kind of like not finishing it, because
you see what you were doing, where you were at.
Yeah, you see what you're doing. You have like, you see your brush strokes, you see kind of like what you're trying to do, and like the processes. So I kind of just like having a record of a class that I took.
Yeah.
I'm going to be teaching a new class that kind of solves this problem in October at Verco's Vault.
Oh, yeah?
It's going to be called Matt DiPietro's Finishing School for Finishers.
Nice.
I'm serious.
It's
going to be about bringing your projects, and then we're going to work on finishing them together. And so if you have like unfinished models from other classes you've taken or whatever, that's what we're gonna do, because I think that this is like sort of common a lot of times. There's all these classes about how to start your models, right? And I teach those classes too, obviously.
Right.
But there's no classes on the ending stages of the paint job, right? Like the polishing and making it like look perfect and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And
I think that's a big deal.
I wanted to try it. It's a new class format that I've never taught before. But I really hope that that's gonna, do well, or, I'm not trying to get like a ton of people to sign up. I think a smaller it might actually work better as a smaller group. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. So thought maybe I'd mention that.
But that's a very common, like one of the things, like with my students, even, like I'll harp on them. I'm like, okay, your finishing of this model is important. Like it needs to be good,
Yeah.
And that's a common problem that people just don't know how to finish their models. You know, like they got this thing, it looks pretty cool. Their friends are telling them it's cool, and then they go to the contest and they don't get the result they want. You know, and it's like, well, and then sometimes it's just hard to finish. Like there's a fear factor there.
Really hard,
like, everyone liked it on Instagram. I got a bunch of likes, but when I finish the model, nobody likes it. You know,
well,
so it's like, it's weird.
Yeah. Also, like, when is it finished? Because, like, you know, you could spend a ton of time. Is something, you know, how do we determine that? And then how do you, like, assess your own painting and, you know, honestly say, you know, it needs more work or it's in a good spot, I'm going to call it done, you know? These sorts of questions are really key. It's something that we don't talk about enough, I think.
Yeah, and I think as you grow in your taste and your eye, you might look for different things, you know, and then oftentimes finishing a figure when you want to get to that very like a competition level, I feel like you can spend more time the last 10% than you do in the rest of the figure sometimes, right? To get everything you really dialed in.
Yeah, I agree. Like that last 10% can take, you know, 50% of the paint time.
Yeah, it can take so long. But I painted like my first Jingri that I painted took around like 40 hours, and that was dialing every single thing, like making sure everything was super defined and blends were smooth. And then when I painted my second Jingri for Miniature Art Academy, should be coming out at some point. Yeah, at some point. I'm not sure when, but that Jingri took me around 10, like maybe 8 to 10 hours, and it's almost done to similar standard, but it's just not finished it's not as refined, you know. So it's like pretty intense.
Yeah.
We have a couple comments. Samurai Jack says coffee is for finishers. Man, harsh, man. If you only reserve coffee for finishers, I don't know what I'd do with my life. Because it's hard for me to finish my figures as well too. That's like
I was just thinking I need some coffee right now.
For sure.
Yeah, this is like end of the day painting. I should get some coffee.
Sliced Bread says one major factor for him is how much enjoyment he's going to get out of the model, whether they're centerpieces or favorite characters. Kind of convinced myself they're a favorite. Yep. And right now, Sandman's his favorite. And Vulture too. I mean, one of my favorite cartoons growing up was the Spider-Man cartoons. You know.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Spider-Man. It was just so much nostalgia. So I love Sandman. I love Vulture. So nice job doing the box art for Vulture for sure, Aaron.
Yeah, that one was super fun. There's a few of those models that stand out to me that I was just like, I'm glad I got to paint that model, and that was one of them.
It's cool. It's cool, and it's a cool sculpt too. You know, it's very dynamic and very careful.
It's pretty simple, you know, but like that's the thing with the Marvel stuff that I like is they are simple, you know, to an extent. Like like Gambit here is actually more complicated than most of the figures. Yeah. So, but most of them are just like they're, you know, there's not a whole lot to them.
They're simple, but they're dramatic, and that's like the best for gaming stuff. I love how dramatic they are, but yeah, they are pretty simple as far as like the number of elements, and they don't have like a billion little like skulls hanging off of them for no darn reason, you know. It's like, what am I even doing with my life at this point? Like getting the 50th pouch, is this really necessary? And a lot of that, sometimes that sort of thing like just adds visual noise, so it's great to have these like, you know, much more straightforward paintings, so that, you know, your choices as far as the light and what you're doing with that, it makes more of an impact. It's more about that than you know.
You can spend more time at those things. You know, like if you're going for like, okay, this is a 3-hour paint job or even a 10-hour paint job, like it's still a really fast paint job in our world, you know. it just gives you that extra time to work on, like, say, his magic right there. You know, like, you're like, okay, well, I saved a bunch of time because I didn't have to paint utility belts and, you know, all this weird stuff. So it allows you to do some fun stuff like that.
Yeah, we used to, like, in the studio painting biz, we used to call those, like, little extra, you know, pointless details, and like, you know, just like flat flare or whatever on models. We used to call those gribblies. And the more highly gribbled your model was, the longer it was going to take to paint. It just adds time to the paint job without really adding a whole lot to it in the end. You know, so it was always like not as much fun. You know.
That's what I like about MCP stuff, is that, like, you can paint, you can, like, interpret, like, these broad open spaces as more complicated or less complicated depending on what you're trying to go for. So it really does allow you to paint, you know, different. It really, I mean, allows you. It's kind of like a blank canvas. Allows you to paint the figure how you want it. You know, so I think I do appreciate that about the MCP stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's really good. I think before I do the black, I kind of want to add some highlights to some places and stuff. But actually, this is going, you know, even more
better than you thought.
No, it's going even faster than I thought it was going to. So I'm kind of stoked about it.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I do like how it's starting to come alive. Sometimes you don't really know how it's going to look when you start it out, and you have to be more flexible. But this one, I think, is starting to look pretty nice.
Sometimes it doesn't look nice until it looks nice, right? So
yeah. Yeah, one thing I know is that it's going to look way clearer once we get the black inking in there. Yeah. But I also know that if I start that stage too early, it makes things more complicated in the long run. So it's kind of like you got to tiptoe up to it, even though you want to kind of do it because you know it's going to look so much better after it's in there.
Slice Breast says your rhino being the first one he encountered was pretty awesome. Is that about your rhino, Aaron?
I don't know. I think probably the box art.
Oh, the box art. Gotcha. Yeah, your rhinos. You did the rhino box art, Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That one was fun because the concept art they sent me. I mean, they always send concept art, and they'll send several. And like when we were talking about how many different styles of everything there is, sometimes they'll send pictures that are several different, you know, like decades apart. And they're like, use the face off of this and the pants off of this and this off of that, but don't use anything else off of that one picture because we don't want that, you know. But like with Rhino, he was pretty much just a gray rhinoceros dude. Like it wasn't super exciting, you know. So like that was an interesting one just to try to get other tones into the gray, but still keep it gray, the gray that they wanted, you know. And so sometimes that's the challenge when doing box art like that. You can't always do what you want to do because obviously it's not your model.
That's one of the big things about doing box art is like they're not. You have to listen to your client and get them what they want, you know. And you know, I don't do box art anymore. I don't do commission painting or studio painting, or very rarely. Definitely not for gaming companies anymore, just because that was my job for so long. I wanted to just kind of like, you know, get a fresh start doing my own thing. So like these days, you know, my clients are like, they won't give me any, they don't give me input. They're like, I want your style. I want your painting, you know, just do whatever you want with this piece. I want to see your take on it. And that's like really, you know, it's awesome to have that trust and be able to like be a complete, like, just, you know, your artistic take, but at the same time, like, it's hard, you know. I think like I feel for I don't know. I feel like I'm just getting comfortable with it. It's been a really long time, you know. And I did do a little bit of a couple of studio paint jobs. Like I did one for Monument recently at this crone for their
yeah, that one's super rad.
For their like texture turner. Yeah, I think so. And it just like it was like putting on like a comfortable pair of pants or something like that. It was like very comfortable just getting back into doing a little studio painting. Honestly. So it was interesting. It's definitely like a skill that you learn, and like Aaron, you're like, you know, one of the best in the business, honestly. You know, so it's great to see your takes on the MCP stuff and the Shadows of Brimstone and everything. You always just like make those models look totally awesome, you know.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, it's like remember that Beastie Boys song, "The Biz versus the Nudge"? so they were a punk rock group that did rap, right? And
yeah,
at one point they started putting punk rock back into their albums, and I thought it was awesome, you know. But they called it "The Biz versus the Nudge," and that's kind of what painting studio box art stuff is. It's the biz versus the nudge. The nudge is, I want to be artistic and I have this idea for what I could do with this piece, but that's not the customer's idea. You know, like,
yeah,
like we said dark blue, not baby blue, you know. You're like, I know, but the baby blue like really works with whatever, you know. So one of the games I play is to do the artsy thing as much as I can without getting in trouble for it.
yeah, definitely. Sometimes you can like send a like probing question when you have an idea or something like that. You know, at least, you know, I was able to work in house, which, you know, studio manager painters don't do anymore.
Right, yeah.
Basically. So I actually ended up, you know, being able to sort of work with the art team to do the concept art and stuff like that. I mean, I didn't actually paint the concept art, but you know, as far as like what colors to use and in what areas, that was kind of like what we would do. But that's like, you know, not really how it works anymore.
Right.
And if you try to be creative or whatever, it doesn't matter how good it looks, you know. If it's not what the client was seeing in their head, it's like, yeah, it could look great, and they're still not going to be happy.
Yeah, and I get part of that is like maybe they already had like, so for MCP, sometimes they have the painted version on the front and the back. Sometimes they have a picture, like a drawing on the front, and then the painted version on the back. And that's, you know, that happens with Shadows of Brimstone. That happens with everybody.
Yeah.
So if your paint job on the back doesn't match the paint job on the front, you know,
exactly. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. And they're trying to get continuity and all that stuff. And but also, you know, it's just, I don't know. Somebody asks you to paint their house pink, and you're like, well, I don't do pink houses. I always do beige, you know. Well, guess what? They're not going to be happy with your beige paint job, you know. Like as a professional painter, that's your job, is to give them what they want, you know. And the trick there is to make it look as good as you can, you know. And believe me, and not so much with the studio stuff, but for private commissions, I've had a couple times where customers, their color sense was way off, or like, my granddaughter likes this color and I like this color, and those two colors don't work together very well, but that's what they want, you know. And so trying to figure out a way to make that work is I've always found is a challenge, you know. I mean, of course I try to talk them out of it, but sometimes there's no talking them out of it, you know. They're just like, I want bright orange and bright purple, let's go, you know. And you're just like, okay, how do I make this work? And so when I started looking at it as more of like a challenge, I think it was a lot more fun for me, you know, rather than like, oh, this is going to look awful from the beginning, you know. And maybe it looks awful at the end, but yeah, I tried, you know.
Yeah, when you're studio painting, it's kind of like, well, you can say your piece, but you know, it's still your job, and yeah, like you just gotta, at the end of the day, make it look as good as possible.
Yeah.
And I think this is really,
we are human, you know, like I love it when, you know, like when I did Rhino, there was a lot of people who contacted me privately and they're like, oh my gosh, I knew that was yours. Like, cause they don't put our names on it or anything. And so, it felt good. It was like, wow, I did a good job on that one. You know, that's cool. But then there's always those days where, like, you know, you go on someone's Facebook page and they're like, oh God, the box art for this is awful. And you're like, okay, I did that one too, you know? So it is what it is. Like,
yeah.
Like you kind of got to talk yourself off a bridge and it's like everyone has their opinions and stuff. And on those days I go, well, that's the colors they told me to choose, you know, like,
well,
there's
the flip side to that too, where it's like you get handed a piece of concept art and there's colors on it. It's like, man, this just really doesn't work. Or the sculpt is a little off or something like that. But I always had as a mark of pride, like I would feel the best almost when I did one of those paint jobs and it got really well received and everybody loved it, you know, even though like I knew that it's like, you know, that's how you knew that you did your job right.
Right. I always feel like the stuff I really personally don't like at all is the best received, which I don't know if that tells anything about
you just have bad taste.
My eye for miniatures or whatever, but it's like I'm like, wow, that was really awful, and they love it. Okay, well, whatever. And then the ones that I really love sometimes is just like, I didn't really like that one. It's like, okay, well, okay, cool. It is what it is, but
yeah, it's a weird gig.
Yeah, it's definitely a mind game for sure, and you just got to learn to play the game, I guess, you know.
Yeah, it can be like it can really get to people, you know, because like not only did I have to, you know, manage it myself, but I had, you know, students that were painting for the studio, whatever, and they would have a bad day where like that thing that they spent the whole last week on or something like that they were really happy with, they would go up and it would just get destroyed by the community or whatever. You know, you have to talk about that with them and coach them on that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
But I could be working at Walmart, so you know what? I'm very happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy too. I mean, like that's Walmart's all I'm qualified for. So other than miniature painting.
I know. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, so I don't have college, and I've been painting miniatures for the better part of 25 years now. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of other things that, like, you know, like, oh sure, we'll hire you. You like,
yeah.
But,
I mean, part of me does, like, sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, man, I could just you know, flip burgers or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd be happier. Or it's just really stressful because, you know, you're all out on your own and there's no safety net as a, you know, small business, you know, doing everything yourself and doing this full time without another job. But you know, at the end of the day, you talk yourself down and you're like, you know what? I do love my job and I'm really fortunate to be able to do it. And yeah, you come back and you fall in love with it again. Yeah, I think I might just like put that black in now. I don't know what our time's looking like, unless we're about to end or something like that.
No, I think you could do it. If you can do it like in the next half hour, I think you got pretty good.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's looking really good already. So that's cool.
So one thing we never talked about was what we're gonna call this. I just called it the MCP challenge, but I don't know what we should.
I was going to do. I was
in the chat. Slicebread did mention that he likes seeing the artistic process for Apocalypse. I think that was from the must have been from the miniature extravaganza thing, right?
Yeah, I did Apocalypse. I did all that terrain too.
Did you really?
That was the only thing I did last year for
That's
MCP.
cool, man. Yeah.
And I don't know how much. I mean, they've showed some stuff. I did a lot of stuff for that. Like it was insane.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, Anthony, Apocalypse is so freaking cool. Like that model is just
really cool.
Juicy.
Yeah. I think I might do him as like as a display piece, you know?
Yeah.
Just
Oh, dude, for sure. And like the terrain that they made for it too is amazing too. Like that was well, I couldn't talk to anybody about it last year, but I literally spent almost I think it was 2 weeks straight painting red sandstone. That's all I painted. I had 3 colors on my palette. And talk about boring, like, but it looked really cool. Like, and afterwards I was like, I went right in and used that same color scheme for something else that I was doing, a personal project.
I mean,
but I guess I wasn't that sick of it, but
I mean, it looks really good, man. So yeah, so what were we gonna call this? We're happy to take
3 dudes in a cup. I don't think
I think I was calling it like that Adepticon Showdown or something like that, or but that's just an idea. Adepticon.
Yeah. That could be something. Okay, I'm gonna write these down.
And we want suggestions from you all on Twitch as well too, if you had any ideas.
Yeah. So if you weren't here earlier when we talked about this, we Anthony, Matt, and I are all doing a little army, and then Dallas is going to beat the crap out of us at Adepticon. So we're going to be at the booth, the MCP booth, and just have it's like I had told when we first talked to Dallas about it, I was like, it could be like a celebrity game, like celebrity painter game, like me and Anthony fight each other, and then Matt was like, I want to do it too, and then Dallas was like, how about you guys all fight me? And so that was a much better idea, and so Dallas is doing something. None of us know what it is. He keeps hinting at
some secret,
he's all secretive and stuff, which I don't think is very nice. At all. But anyway, so we're painting. We're kind of chronicling our painting during the year up until Adepticon, and so we'll probably be doing one of these shows at least once a month. I may have do just a stream by myself to get extra stuff done at some point during the month too. But all this stuff will be on on the Miniature Monthly YouTube page, so it's all free to watch whenever you want to, or show your friends or whatever. But we need a name for it. So I called it the MCP Challenge. We could do Adepticon Showdown, or I don't know. My brain is so mush right now.
What did you call it? It was like something like Thunderdrome or something like that.
The Painter Dome.
The Painter Dome.
But yeah, but then you have it's like it's a reference to Thunderdome, but you kind of have to get that content. That reference. But so this is the content where you make it about like you want to cut. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so this is the one Sliced Bread. I was that I have to learn how to play the game and we got to beat the snot out of Dallas.
See if we can pull it out. Pull a win out against Dallas.
Yep. MCP Adepticon Showdown sounds kind of cool. I do like that.
Yeah. You also got to think like ease of saying it.
Adepticon Showdown. Let's see. Showdown.
Nerds who paint. No.
We have to be more specific than that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like something like very comic book-esque or something. Like is there something from
or
Danger Room or whatever, or
what?
What's the like the Danger Room or
yeah.
Danger Room. Danger Dome.
Yeah, I think some looks like a comic reference about some kind of like
Sliced Bread says Adepti contest. Although it's not really a contest, but
Adepta beatdown is what's gonna happen to us.
Beat Dallas 20
beat Dallasicon.
Yeah.
Beat Dallasicon.
Beat Dallasicon.
I do like your like some kind of a comic reference. Let's see. What's that thing that like the Black Panther? Is there like that where he has a ritual where he fights another king or whatever?
Oh yeah, because they live in a patrocracy.
Yeah. I don't know.
We could just call it, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Oh, I mean, there's 3 of us. We could actually we could come up with like little hidden strategies against Dallas.
Earth's mightiest painters, like Earth's mightiest heroes.
Ooh, I like it.
Okay. EMPs. I'm also like sometimes it's good if you can
like the MCP EMPs.
Yeah, MCP EMPs. Like what rolls off the tongue well, you know? Earth's Mightiest Painters, yeah. That's a good one. That's actually a really good one considering their new box set.
Looking really cool, Matt.
Thanks,
like that. Getting that, painting those, adding that dark black and the undersides really defines the view.
The genre.
Yeah, it really like brings it all together, and I really enjoy it. You know, one of the tricks is actually like kind of almost like while you're painting everything else, being able to see in your mind what it's going to look like at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's kind of off camera here, is it? I'm kind of moving around a little bit. This stage is a little harder to keep it on camera because you're like trying to get all the different angles. Let's see if we can get some comic book line work in there.
Yeah, I'm kind of digging the Earth's Mightiest Painters, but I also like the Adepticon Showdown. Like, what if we call the event the MCP Adepticon Showdown with Dallas, but we are Earth's Mightiest Painters because
then we could come up with some sort of like heel name for Dallas.
Yes.
Like
Ultimate Encounters.
Like he would have to have the equivalent of Earth's Mightiest Painters versus
Earth's Mightiest Villain or something.
Yeah, the villainous painter from beyond the galaxy or something like that.
Yeah, he has like the super long convoluted name.
How about we call it? What about the Painter Wars? Kind of like Secret Wars or the Infinity War, you know, Civil War. Painter Wars.
We could come up with several good names and change the name of the group every time we meet.
Yeah, people will really not know what we're talking about.
Sliced bread. Like, I was kind of hoping that when Matt and I picked X-Men and X-Force, that Dallas would do some Apocalypse Ultimate Encounter. That'd be super sweet, but I don't know if that's gonna turn out.
It sounds like they might release a new epic, encounter for Adepticon next year, and we might be the first ones to play it.
that would be super sick, and that means like, yeah, if that's the case, they are cooking it up right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, don't quote me on that. I don't know what Dallas has planned.
We have absolutely no clue. But
he's been kind of trolling us with it.
Yeah,
so
he talks some crazy smack,
yeah,
which will make it super fun. But I mean, if it's something they've never done before or it's something new, I mean, I think that would be a brilliant marketing thing on their part. Just because it's like, boom, here it is, the new thing. But yeah. I think that would be super cool. And if they did that, I bet they would make like a cool terrain board or something for it. I don't know.
No, I think they are gonna do something really nice for the game. Yeah.
But no matter how nice it is, we have to complain about it incessantly the whole time. Is this it?
Yeah.
Yeah. As Dallas is stomping our brains out.
Yeah.
This terrain board looks great. I could tell because I have a very close up look as I'm getting ground into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna just scroll through Marvel Unlimited and try to see if they have any cool ideas here. Let's see.
I hope Dallas isn't watching this and listening, and then now he's gonna know exactly what to do to beat you guys.
Yeah, he's getting all our secrets.
He probably is.
Yeah.
He'll do anything to win. I know that guy.
Put it past him. Yeah.
He is pretty tricksy.
He's the trickster. Okay, what was that name for Dallas? The villainous painter from
beyond the solar system.
Beyond.
I don't know, something like that. Beyond the the villainous painter from beyond the stars. Yeah.
Okay.
Versus Earth's most mighty painters.
There we go. I totally dig that. I especially dig it because his name's way too long.
Yeah,
it's like it doesn't roll off the tongue very well.
I like that. I like that. That's a good tag. That's a good tagline.
And we'll make him say his name as many times as possible during the game. Oh man.
We should do a thing where like if we call him Dallas and not by his long name, then he gets to put a power on one of his characters or something like that.
No, please
don't. Secret Wars.
That's looking really cool now, Matt.
Yeah, this is like the key stage. It's the part I like the best.
The make it or break it stage.
Yeah. You're forcing kind of with the dark. You're forcing a light and the definition at the same time, which is which is pretty cool. It really helps it pop, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Mean, if you're into that type of thing, you know.
And on the tabletop, it like really your stuff really stands out still. Like you can really look at it from across the room.
I think we should have like oh god, is there going to be Galactus? Is that a character, a new character?
I don't know.
That'd be sick though. I mean, Galactus would be huge.
That's the one that Cool Mini or Not made like a massive one for their.
Oh yeah, the zombie one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy, dude.
I mean. So they probably couldn't produce something like that, but if they made like a really big version just for this game, which would be ridiculous, that would still be really cool. I mean, it wouldn't help them sell models, but it would be awesome. But who knows?
Maybe we should come up with a couple names, like, and then maybe have people vote for it. Maybe that'll get people to come. Join our
motley crew.
Yeah, do it.
Well, maybe this will get people excited about painting their MCP figures. Although I don't think people are having too much problems. Like it seems like the MCP group on Facebook is very healthy.
It is actually, yeah. I really like that group. The group's great.
Yeah. And there's some fantastic painters, man. Like some of those guys are just killing it.
For sure.
My buddy Rich Erickson is painting up all the new core set, and he's doing a really awesome job. Like I was like, holy cow, this stuff looks really cool.
Another name is I like the something having to do with like the Painterverse.
The Painterverse. Oh.
Like the multiverse. Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Kind of dig that.
Man, I love that movie. How those two, like the second one. I don't even love the first one, but
I like. Yeah, it is such a good job. Is it the one where all the random people, the random Spider-Mans come in?
Yeah, there's all the different versions.
Peter Man, he's the best.
We could be Earth's mightiest painters, and then when we switch from our face cams to whoever's painting, we go into the Painterverse.
Whoa, the Painterverse. Enter the Painterverse.
Getting more and more corny. I love it. Oh my
I like it, man. I like it. I mean, all the ideas so far are pretty good, but you know.
Yeah.
I'd be down for whatever people pick for sure.
Enter the Painterverse and follow Earth's mightiest painters as they prepare for their ultimate showdown with the villain from the stars. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh man, I gotta find someone who can do like a good voiceover. Matt, do you remember? Or you guys remember Joe Kleinheinz, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like one of those radio voices, like just so deep.
Oh yeah.
If I could contact him and be like, "Hey, could I get you to just do a voice track?"
Do you know Jim DeRogatis for that one? Yeah, he's a miniature painter. He's in Chicago. He does an NPR show, Sound Opinions.
No,
yeah, that's right. He's a historical painter, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
I never met him, but I haven't been to the Chicago historical painters thing in like forever.
There you go. I was gonna say, oh, that's your buddy. Get him to do it, but we gotta.
Oh, I don't know him that well.
We gotta do some finagling. Yeah.
He's got it in at NPR, you know. We could get on morning edition. And
Dream big.
This just in. A menace from beyond the stars is invading the Painterverse.
The Earth needs
the
your
menace
help.
from beyond the painting menace from beyond the stars.
Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Good. Yeah, there we go.
Are you writing this? Is someone writing this down?
We technically are recording this, so.
Oh, yeah,
that is true. Yeah.
We have to timestamp this.
Yeah,
okay,
we're
timestamp
at the 2.5 hour mark or whatever.
Yeah. 18 minutes. Thank you, Liz, for jotting it down for perpetuity.
Good times.
We painted it too much. We have like the memory of a goldfish, like between us.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna remember any of this tomorrow. I'm writing down as fast as I can, but I think those are really good ideas. Like because it goes with the whole Marvel universe, and then works for what we're doing. And it makes Dallas evil, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need people to like us and not like him because he's way too popular right now. Like,
yeah, he's too nice.
He's too nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a talk with Dallas and talk about his. You got to dial up the not niceness.
Oh, I don't think it will be a problem. Dallas likes playing the villain, actually.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be perfect.
He has a nice villainous laughter cackle, though.
Yes,
so
he
I think
does. Yeah,
he does.
plays
Totally.
He plays it just right.
Wait. So Matt, you got the normal? Did you Aaron and Matt, did you both get the Wolverine where he's screaming with his like Pat Morgan pose?
Yellow on the box or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I got. Yeah.
Did you get the 4-pack, Matt? Did they send you like
I thought they were gonna send me Logan, but they sent me that one. Yeah,
the 4-pack too.
Yeah, all I wanted was the one I like, because I know they have a pack that's just Wolverine and somebody else, but I appreciate the fact that they sent me a 4-pack. That was pretty cool.
So I did the one with the mask on. Actually, all my characters versus bare face and mask, they have their masks on.
Mm-hmm.
So like Cyclops, he has I might be the only one who did did the like I don't even know what you'd call that, like the scuba mask or whatever thing that he's
got. How did you do the little energy thing? Was it a plastic card?
Yeah, it was like a clear piece of plastic card, and then I kind of like
Oh, that's not on the model?
No, I had that. Yeah.
Oh.
I think I might. Yeah, that's a good idea. I feel like I want to do that.
Yeah, for people who haven't seen it, it's like this.
Yeah, and if you're wondering how Matt painted that, he's got a series going on Miniature Monthly's Patreon right now with it. So. Yeah, that's so
turned
cool.
out pretty good. Yeah. I just thought he needed a little something extra. So.
No, he's cool.
I think
Pump
that's
it
awesome.
I like it.
So at this stage, he's not done, but I like to paint the base rim because it actually like lets me see like what could improve. It's kind of like putting a frame on your painting or something like that. So I usually paint the base rim at this stage, and then if it gets grubbed up through the rest of the painting, I'll paint it one more time at the end. But you'd really be surprised like how much it helps to see what's going on the painting, to have the base rim painted, because then you're not distracted by everything else. So that's what I'm doing. I'll probably spend, there's probably still another hour left on this at least, but I am really happy with like how it turned out today.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
there's definitely a bit more painting to do, but yeah, I'm digging it, and I think I'm kind of cooling down on the painting, and I think we're getting close to time. Did I time it? Okay, good, awesome.
Good. Yeah. And I think so. We didn't really have a plan for the show. True to fashion, or Mightiest painters, we just go with it, right? But I think this was kind of cool, because at first we planned on each of us would paint for like an hour, but it would be like all of us would be ending off at a weird spot. So I think if we just like each time one of us paints, that gives and we can all talk about it or whatever. So like maybe next time it's Anthony, and then we ask him a lot of dumb questions, and keep asking if he's done yet and stuff like that. I think that would be pretty cool. Like I think it's a little bit better. Also, I can make like a little sped up version of this that we can put online. And if it's 3 people not finishing it or not even getting close to anything done, that would be kind of weird. So I think this kind of works,
Cool.
And I know, Anthony, your process is a little bit longer, but I'm sure you could get like the initial sketch in or whatever, and that type of thing, and that would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you don't have to. I don't have to paint the whole figure, but like
you could just paint
like a portion of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets. Yeah, that kind of.
We're not necessarily trying to teach people how to paint, but at the same time, it gives people ideas. I think if we can give some good advice and some ideas, and maybe some BS in the middle of it, that would be awesome too. But I kind of dig the way this one went out, and especially since Matt didn't want to paint tonight. So we all found out he's a liar, and no, I'm just kidding.
I make you can't trust anything I say. And,
yeah, I also think like. I mean, I think maybe the first 3 shows, like where maybe each one of us, we bullshit first, and then one of us paints for like 2 hours or whatever. That'd be kind of cool. And then, but I also like to hear, if anyone else has ideas from the chat, like what they want to see, or like even if you're like, hey, I want to see how you do OSL, then maybe one time we can just do OSL. And each one of us can do like a, a half-hour thing and painting OSL just to show how we approach it. I think that'd be kind of cool too.
That would be kind of cool. Yeah. That might be something we post in the Marvel Facebook page and just take a poll and be like, hey, we're gonna do this, and also that might get other people to watch it.
I totally forgot about even mentioning this again. In that Facebook group, because I think there's a lot of.
Well, once you post this up on YouTube, we can
we can put it there too. True. So and this one was well, obviously I kept screwing up, so this was our practice one, and we got it going, and I think we got a good format, and we kind of got a name, and we got all that stuff. So I think that would be kind of fun. And then as we get going, the more people that watch or whatever, maybe we can get people involved in what they want to see and stuff like that. So, and we can just, there's nothing set in stone. So, except for the fact that we're painting Marvel figures. Let's paint Space Marines now.
Are we officially calling this and enter the Painterverse showdown between the painting from Beyond the Stars?
Yeah, I think that should be our description of it. Like,
right.
It should be like the Marvel Adepticon Showdown, or something like that. Like it should have something that's a little bit easier to say.
Yeah.
But then that's our shtick or whatever.
Right. No, I think it's perfect.
The Painterverse is under siege by the menace from the menace from Beyond the Stars. Something. Yeah, we'll have to come up with the actual.
And maybe at some point we can have Dallas on the show, and we can just really give it to him, be like, so what is it? How does it feel to be? Are you going to be embarrassed that your models aren't painted as good as ours, and just all that stuff?
How does it feel to be so evil? God.
Yeah.
So bad.
There we go. How does it feel to be so evil? Does your girlfriend know how evil you are?
Like, do you ever get a break from being so evil?
I think that would be super funny. And I think Dallas would enjoy it way too much. I think actually maybe that one will backfire on us, but I think that
almost certainly, but at least it'll entertain somebody, hopefully.
Hey, Sliced Bread's gonna cheat on you, Aaron, with me and Matt. So
I hate that guy. I knew that the friendship wasn't gonna work out. No, actually, he's super friggin' smart, and he's so smart that he showed me how to beat him in the game that we played. So it made me feel good because I was like, oh, I won. I'm so awesome. But he pretty much told me everything to do. So it was kind of like he beat himself. Which was funny, and then some really funny stuff happened during the game. But yeah, he's awesome. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So he helped me with my list because I had one list, and he's like, "Yeah, you might not want to play that figure. Maybe do these other ones." Just mainly for the synergy of the group, to do better. But he also knows how to get the best use out of your Gambit or whatever, So.
That's.
Yeah, he's
I think that's cool.
Good asset. Like I said, if we can figure out how to get him out to Adepticon,
Yeah.
He'll be like the coach. Like,
yeah, he can be sending us secret messages through like earpieces or maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to learn Morse code, and he can send us messages through vibrations in our sneakers.
Broken arrow.
Bombshell, bombshell.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be getting the message like, "There's literally nothing you can do. Like you already blew it." Like, good times.
Yeah, that's when Aaron flips the table.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, oh man, I'm sorry I broke all those cool new models you had, Dallas. Like,
no, geez, maybe you shouldn't have been beating our asses so hard.
Yeah, maybe if you weren't so villainous.
Maybe if you had thought about what you were doing.
Exactly.
And not crossed us.
Good times.
All right, I'm gonna definitely work on this probably for another hour or so at some point. But I think he's like, yeah, it's turning out pretty good.
Oh, he looks super cool.
Yeah, really cool. Super sweet, dude.
Awesome.
All right. Good painting with y'all.
Super duper rad.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thanks for joining the stream.
Yeah, the crew.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us, and come back and check it out next time as well.
Next month, right? Next month,
So, how's this work? I don't know how this works. I don't know which change layout. Which one was it? Tiled? No, auto. Is that what it is?
Auto. But you also have to.
Oh, I got to unpin Matt. That's what it is. Okay, let's see if this works. Going back to talking camera.
No, it's swapped.
Except they're swapped. So now Anthony is Matt and Matt's Anthony. That's awesome.
I think it's got our names in there correct, though.
It does have your names in there, but yeah, every time I switch the thing, it switches everything. But anyways, works out. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming out and watching our first show. And this was actually really fun. And I'm excited about next month, which will probably have to be in the middle of the month because Gen Con's at the end Nova and all the cons that happen at the end of the month are happening and Gen Con's at the start. So I'm only available in the middle of the month. So hopefully we can figure it out.
That should work. That should work.
So
cool.
Rock and roll. All right.
Sweet.
Well, cool.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Yeah. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.